boundary setting and clear boundaries? Because I think for men who find themselves in a position where there's a dominant or coercive control in the female attempting to dominate them, it's the man, in my estimation, the man's not finding his true center and able to assert that as a clear boundary to prevent this kind of behavior. So can you speak about boundary setting and assertiveness?
Yeah, I think, and again, this conversation is a conversation, and it's to bring light on the dynamics, the impact, and then obviously to empower the man to not to make that agreement and be the victim in that.
Yeah.
So I think having it as a constant conversation to learn and grow, and for other people to add to it as well. But probably in my own experience, the fine dynamics of abuse between high conflict and what power and control is, understanding that. But what I've found is that in my own experience, a death by 1,000 concessions or death by 1,000 paper cuts to erode your frame that you present in your masculine, in your strength, and in your loving strength, to be able to hold that, and to be aware how that gets eroded, and how as a man I let that be eroded to the point where it was untenable. And it's the point of this podcast, and for me, is to understand those dynamics and to be able to see it when it happens, and to be aware and conscious that there is a roadmap that's out there. I think one of the big things is that part of that criticism and abuse by women, sometimes it can be disguised as, oh, it's only a shit test. I'm trying to strengthen your masculinity, which is another false narrative that sort of justifying their abuse, and they're cutting a man off at his knees.
But also the implication is there that you're not a strong masculine.
Correct.
That's the very first start of it right there, because if they want a strong man, why don't they go choose a strong man?
Correct. But what the is being able to understand that for a man, you're taking advice from a woman on how to be masculine.
Right.
So it's a very, very big point that if my wife or my mother or my sister says, well, real men don't do that, or you should be doing that you should be as a man, there's a presupposition that I know what's best and you should be doing that. And if you're not, there's something deficient within you. So I think, as a man, to not take advice on how to be masculine from a
that's a great tip right there.
Yeah. And the lack of masculine direction that I had in my life, I think having that frame and being able to hold that frame, and I think I spoke about the pillars. I think for a man to be able to be strong and hold that frame, he has to have something to anchor that above and beyond having that worn away by 1,000 concessions. So for me, and like if we talk about a spiritual perspective, being strong in God, being strong and fearless in your integrity, and not letting anything push you away, regardless of what it is, and being able to walk away and being able to identify those dynamics of female abuse and control, and knowing that any amount of talking about it, any amount of explaining the boundary or the impact, what I've found in my experience in my own relationships and working with men, that there's a huge attempt for men to try and work with this person to stop them abusing you, and that's a trap.
Yeah, work with yourself.
Yeah. If I need to be able to be aware of this, I need to be strong enough and directed enough and have strength in my own masculinity, is when I'm disrespected and when I'm abused, I walk away. I just walk away. And I give the choice to that person then. If they want to be with me, this is how it's done. Or if not, that's okay. So it's very respectful in invitational. If you want to come and be with me, this is my frame. If you want to walk into that, that's okay. And be ready at any point. I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb here, not to say this is the woman I have, this is my dream woman, and I'm right forever. I think for a man, it's, I'm ready to leave at any sign of abuse or disrespect. Right? And to get my pillars in place, so I have a good group of men, right? I have a good relationship with God or my spirituality, whatever that looks like, my own family, putting a dent in the universe, my own purpose in life. So if those pillars are strong, and when it comes to female abuse, the very idea is that they erode those away, right? So it's like the cupcake, right? So all those pillars, all those things are your cupcake. And if you get married or have a long-term relationship, she's the cherry on top. So if she falls off, you still have the cupcake. I think that's intrinsic for men. Because the suicide, as you talk about, is when there's no cupcake left. When all your focus has been put onto her, you've agreed to give up going to see your mum so many times. You've agreed to give up working so much. You've agreed to stop playing golf. And the focus is totally on her. When the cherry falls off, there's no cupcake left. And that's where men get suicidal. They need to have those purposes very strong in their life, very intentional. And that's part of holding the frame.